So a few nights later, me and Gary were in town. There was 15 años or something, which is 15-year, I think, a young girl coming of age or something like that. I'm not too sure. And there was big celebrations and there was parties in town. And Belize Independence Day was coming up as well. Belize used to be British Honduras, I do believe, in the 80s, early 90s, and I think in the early 80s it got its independence from the UK and renamed itself Belize, which I think means free road or free country. And so British Honduras became Belize, and it's still part of the British Commonwealth, and the Queen had been down and the RAF were down there, and the British forces had a base, had several bases down there, and the American forces would come down, the SAS would go over, SBS, Paras, Marines, they'd all go over do jungle warfare training. Most British army regiments would be down there at one point or another. The RAF used to fly over in Harriers. We used to see them in the early 90s going over, late 80s, early 90s going over. They actually flew over the island a few times. Yeah, so it was pretty good. Anyway, me and Gary were downtown, just going down. Gary had a couple of rums in him. Gary had got quite big at the weights and stuff. He'd thrown himself full into it again. Him and Tamara had taken a break, which I think was a massive relief for Gary, to be honest. He just seemed to be himself again. And we were just having a bit of crack in town, and all of a sudden Dave appeared. And Dave had a huge welt on the side of his face. And I says, what happened? And Patoho and Sabbath had blindsided him. And I fucking hit the roof. But David was drunk. And it's very easy to hit somebody who's drunk. And David was with Sue. And the thing that bothered David most was these guys jumped on him when Sue was there. And they got him down and they gave him a kicking. And Patoho had kicked David in the face, apparently, and his eye was black, big fucking black eye. I lost the plot. I went quiet and silent, and fucking my mind was going overtime, and I just says, right, and she was like, no, don't be fucking doing anything, Colin, you can't fucking, you can't, just leave this go, and I just says, no, that's fucking it, that's it. So he didn't understand the bond that me and David had, or the bond that most men have with each other, especially if they're friends and if they've grown up with each other. Most men will fucking die for each other, okay? And that's just how it is. And David was like my dad. David had taken care of me. He'd fed me, clothed me, give me a life in Belize, gave me a wage, bought me everything, took care of me, and David was like my dad. And I'd grown up with David since I was 12 years, when I met him when I was 12. And that was it. I fucking flipped the lid. My head went tilt. And I says, right, that's it. So I went looking for Patoho, and I couldn't find him. And I would have beat him to death with a rock that night if I'd have got my hands on him. And I went around the whole fucking town looking for him, and San Pedro's not a big town. The only place I didn't go was to the back of the island, because I'd never been there before, and it was full of bandidos. I says, right, this guy's gonna get it. So I didn't see him for a few days, and then I was in town going to the bank to drop some money off for Sue, and there's a basketball court in San Pedro, and right beside it was a police station, and Oliver was sitting on the wall, and Patoho was playing, and Patoho towered above most people. He was 6'3", maybe 6'4", big lanky looking guy, full of tattoos, full of these fucking homemade jailhouse tattoos and stuff, and everybody was worried about him. And I seen him, and I fucking got off the golf cart, and I jumped over the wall, and Oliver looked at me, and Oliver tried to call me back, and I fucking went straight over to Patoho, knowing the police station, the police were sitting watching us, and I said to Patoho, I says, you fucking scumbag, or something like this, me and you right now. And I said, because I'm going to show you a different kind of crazy. And he had his knife on his belt and stuff and all this, and he just stood there mouthing in front of you. I says, well, basically you just stand there fucking mouth and come and do something. And he just looked over and he saw the police, and he didn't say anything to do anything. Called me a puta maricon, all this type of stuff, all these cuss words in Spanish or whatever. And I just says, I'm gonna fucking see you again. So There was a hardware store in Middle Street. And I went to the hardware store and I bought 2 axes. 2 small hand axes. And I was going to fucking chop this guy up. I just had that in my mind. He's going to fucking get it. So I bought 2 axes and a knife. And I carried them in my backpack for weeks. I fucking seen this guy. I was going to give it to him. That was it. Dave's face healed. Dave didn't really go out. Word had spread around the island that Dave had been, beat up by Patoho and Sabbath, and people weren't happy about it at all. But people wouldn't stand up to these 2 guys. Oliver, oh, you've got to be careful, Colin. I fucked Oliver off. So I had this now in my mind that Patoho's gonna get it. But I could never see him. I don't think the guy was hiding from me. He just had a business. He had his own scuba business, and he had his own fishing business, and illegally catching lobsters business, everything that he did. But nobody bothered him because he was a big unit, and people were just generally scared of him. And that was what the problem was. But I didn't care about that. He'd beat up somebody that I fucking cared for, and attacked him, blindsided him again, because he knew that David would go one-on-one with him, and that was it. So I made Dave a promise. I'm going to get him, and Dave just said okay. You know what I mean? He couldn't be seen to be doing anything, and Dave says, for fuck's sake, Colin, don't fucking let anybody see you do anything. And I wasn't that stupid. So anyway, it seethed. I seethed for weeks. This guy Patoho was on my mind all the time. Even when I went scuba diving, all I thought about was this Patoho guy, and Sabbath, and that other Freddy guy. And Gutsy never bothered me again. The guy that I slapped for hitting Jenny, he never bothered me again. I seen him a few times, and he actually just started kind of like waving at me and saying hello, and I just fucking ignored him, and because I didn't want nothing to do with him. I wasn't there to be his friend. But he knew that, he knew that was it with me. That was it. Once I had a fight with him, that was all I'm done with. If he wanted to continue, then that was going to be done that way. My social life became zero. My life became focused on this Patoho guy. That was it. And he'd hurt David, and doing that, he fucking, he hurt me. That was it there. David was getting to the stage where Dave couldn't be bothered fighting anymore because of his boys. He knew that if he did anything, Sue would drop Dave like a hot potato. I didn't realise that she was threatening him doing this type of stuff. She would drop him like a hot potato. Dave would lose everything. So Dave capitulated to her. Fortunately, or unfortunately for Sue, I didn't give a fuck whether I was kicked out of Belize or not, to be honest. There was loads of other places I could go to. I was only down there for David. So I lost all interest in scuba diving. I lost all interest in most things except going to the gym, punching on the punch bag, lifting weights, and getting stronger, and just getting angrier. And that was it. That was in my mind. That was it. And I was like that as a kid. I'm a Gemini, and I'm either good or I'm bad. That's it. There's no fucking grey areas with me most of the time. When I was younger, I didn't think about anything. I would just do it and worry about what happened afterwards. So this Patoho guy occupied my mind for a long time, and all I did was seethe, fucking with hatred, and train, and fucking sleep, eat, and breathe that fucking guy. It was like Rocky fucking 4. Basically, all I needed was a photograph pinned to my fucking mirror to stare at him every day. But I would constantly ask people, have you seen Patoho? Have you seen this? Have you seen that? And word got around very quickly that, that I was asking about him. But he never approached me. He never approached me on his own. Not that I was anything special. I was just fucking crazy. And he kind of knew that. He knew once I battered Gutsy that was it. The gloves were fucking thrown down, and I seethed for weeks and weeks to fucking see this guy. And my life changed. I went to a very dark place. I went down a rabbit hole that it was very hard for me to come out of. And that was just filled with just getting this guy and fucking chopping him up. Anyway, just continued to dive, continued to basically just exist. I didn't go into the restaurant because I didn't want to see Sue. And I told Dave plain and straight, I says, I don't fucking want to see her, Dave. I says, I'm sorry that she's had cancer and all this shit. I don't fucking want to see her. because of the way that she's treating you.